Yo guys, it's your boy Strider Chip. I'm back with another one as you guys can see. Happy New Year's, everybody. Hope you guys out there enjoying your New Year's Day. This is 2013, a new year here on YouTube. I know a lot of y'all haven't seen me in a while and everything, but I'm just bearing through and doing what I gotta do and working, doing business stuff and all that stuff. Focusing on myself. But today, guys. So today I want to do a video. Just which recently I just saw this video from a YouTuber named D Dub, the Anime Master. He was talking about Dragon Ball Z video games. What's your favorite DBZ video game and why, and what is your dream DBZ video game? Now he in his video he went and said some of his video his some of his favorite series were basically uh the more of the RPG versions of it. I forgot what you were saying on there. I don't you know too much remember all what you were saying on that. I know you was talking about how Dragon Ball Z Saga sucked. That game was really bad. Really, to tell you the truth, Dragon Ball Z Sagas wasn't a RPG game. That wasn't necessarily an RPG game. That was more of a action adventure beat 'em up style game. And you know what I'm saying? It was all right. Dragon Ball Z Sagas was all right. Obviously, they were trying to introduce something more new to the series by adding in, maybe an action adventure style version of the game. And to be honest with you, what killed Dragon Ball Z Sagas for me was the game art itself. The game art, the 3D models and everything about that game. That's what killed it. And other than that, the gameplay was actually, it was all right. The gameplay was actually all right, but it was just what killed it was the game art to me, and then how everybody was kind of fighting in it. Even the animations were kind of somewhat bad, in my opinion. The animations that they did for the game were kind of stupid. Like, so I'm thinking, why they do that? Why they decided to make it. I mean, but they were trying to try something new, obviously, with Dragon Ball Z Sagas and introduce something we really haven't messed with in a while. We haven't really these game developers. We really haven't seen anything like that. As far as with what is that? I'm sorry. A video game basically based off of just you know let alone based off an action adventure version of DBZ. And actually, I went to school for video game design, and to be honest with you, how I would have did the Dragon Ball Z Saga series, I would have started from a different perspective. Like, the game art would be more like the ones you see from Dragon Ball Z Burst Limit. You guys remember Burst Limit, right? The game art from Dragon Ball Z Tenkaichi. That's what the game art would have been, and it would have been more. It would have been more How can I say? Not I wouldn't say more interactive. Yeah, it would have probably been more interactive, and it would have been more 3D and kind of, I would say, 2D involved, not 3D involved, but more 3D, more 2.5D involved into the perspective of Dragon Ball Z. It would have been more like that instead of having a 3D open world. Everybody's walking around. You're not going to be walking around in that. You would have the ability to fly and everything. Don't get me wrong, you had that in Dragon Ball Z Sagas, but like I said, what killed it was just the game art. It was three to me the 3D. It was the fact that it was a 3D action adventure game, and it really it sucked. Like, tell you the truth, that game, that's how it made it bad. It was bad. So, uh, I'm not trying to go ahead and on a big rant about Dragon Ball Z Sagas and talk about how bad the game really was. Only thing I'm saying about the game is just the fact that it was an interesting idea. It's a good idea to the whole series of Dragon Ball Z. It was really good idea, and they could have still used that idea to make a good game. But it was just some small stuff that really kind of killed it. Now, now, as far as going into the Dragon Ball Z Tenkaichi series, you know, from right from the start, the Dragon Ball Z Tenkaichi series were really, guys. You have to understand that they were based off for the show. They were meant to be the same way as the show was. Yeah, I'm watching Dragon Ball Z. Yeah, they were meant. Yeah, Dragon Ball Z Sagas was bad, but anyway, they were meant to be like that. They were meant to be. The Dragon Ball Tenkaichi series was meant to be just like the anime show. They wanted to. They wanted to. How can I say? uh, emulate. They wanted to emulate the same thing you've seen on a TV show. That's what they wanted to do. The same thing that a lot of people seen on a TV show, and made it easier for the gamers to play. And that's just the truth about it. You know, honestly that's what I honestly see out of it. And you know, it was nothing wrong with that. It was, being honest with Dragon Ball Z, when Dragon Ball Z Tenkaichi first came out, the very first one, and I played that one, I didn't like it. I didn't like it. I didn't respect it because I was like, man, why does the Dragon Ball Z game have to be like this? Like, I never liked it in that perspective, and a lot of people was liking it when it came out, but I didn't appreciate it. It's like I said, it related too much to the show, you know. And then after, when I played the second one, it got better. You know what I'm saying? The experience for Dragon Ball Z Tenkaichi got better, and I liked it more. I respect it more, and me and my friends were having a lot more fun out of it. It depends on what type of fun you had of the game, what gives it value too, at that. So the Tenkaichi series is not a bad series. It's actually a pretty interesting. It's a fun series, but at the same time, um, I didn't. I didn't respect it. You know what I mean? At the same time, I respected it and I didn't respect it. It's just, it wasn't a DBZ game that was for me. It wasn't that one for me. Now some of these RPG ones, I remember they did a Dragon Ball Z Attack of the Saiyans game for the DS. That, I think these are the more the RPG games that you're kind of referring to. That had a more of an RPG perspective to it, where you basically pick an attack or something and hit him, or he does this or that. You know, it would, like I said, it would be interesting to see a Dragon Ball Z RPG game like that, because the Dragon Ball Z universe is a big universe. Obviously, they made I forgot, it's a Korean game called Dragon Ball World or something like that, which they went ahead and made actually online for guys. They actually made that game for online in Korea or something like that. You can't really buy it here in America. You can only buy it in Korea or something like that. Something like that. But just go ahead and Google that up there, whatever. I'll probably put some link in the description about that. The Dragon Ball universe, you can create a human character, and then the human can get stronger to a point of a Saiyan, Super Saiyan. Some of it, in my opinion, didn't make too much sense. You know, they had Namekians. You can dress your fighter. You could be a Majin or whatever. You could be one of those majestic characters or whatever. These that's the RPG. Those were some of the Dragon Ball Z RPG. That was a PC version of it too. Don't get me wrong, it was an interesting game, interesting looking game. But let me just move into my favorite. Let me just talk about my favorite Dragon Ball Z games. So my favorite Dragon Ball Z games were, uh, right off the bat. I don't know if you guys knew, but I played some of the imported versions of the game. My favorite one was the imported Dragon Ball Z game they had was Dragon Ball Z Legends. Dragon Ball Z Legends. If you guys don't know what that is, Dragon Ball Z Legends for the PlayStation, the very first one for the PlayStation. It had Goku on the front of it. It had Frieza, Vegeta, Cell, Buu. I mean, Kid Buu at that. And it was really much. If you go ahead, you guys need to go ahead and do some research on that. I'm gonna put some links, some videos in the description. There's a guys, uh, to as a what's the name to that guys. That game was just, it was on point. You know what I mean? It was a fun game for its time coming out. Me and my friend, we had never experienced playing a Dragon Ball Z game like that before. And keep this in mind, it was all 2D. It was an all 2D game. I'm looking at it right now too, guys. It was an all 2D game. It was just crazy how you can just do whatever you could just, man. Basically, it was just a 2D perspective game, and all it was just like a DBZ fight. It was just like a DBZ fight. It was like the actual show, but in a 2D perspective. It was kind of like Tenkaichi, kind of like that, but it been a 2D perspective. You fighting around your character. You can put in combos, like you can start hitting your character with something with like square, I think, or something like that. The next thing you know, you can like fight him real fast, like they did in the show, where he's like throwing out a whole bunch of punches and kicks and everything like that. Man, it was crazy as hell. Then you can like fight around your opponent, like whoop his ass, or fight around your opponent. You can teleport, like like for example, you know, in the show when they showed the characters knock the character down in the air. They're like fighting in the air. The next thing you know, he knocks him in the air. Then they keep fighting, and they keep moving forward and fighting, then connect together. And then you can pretty much, you can like basically you can like how can I describe it? You basically, you can, you know, let's say for example, move towards your enemy, then you fight him. You start punching him because when they punch him in the animation, you see like lightning punches. You can barely see the punches and kicks. It's like because he's kicking really punch. He's doing that. He's throwing those out really fast. And and then you can next thing you know you can like you can start putting in a combo like fight real fast, like beat the shit out of them like they do on the show. Then you can like circle around him if you wanted to, kick him upside in the air. Then he follows towards him. All you had to do was follow towards him, like press up triangle or something like that, because he charges up, follow towards him. Then he still fights with him, and next thing you know you can knock him down. Then you can keep following him and knock. It's just like the TV show. It was for a 2D fighting game, guys. This was like one of the best fighting games I ever played out there. They made it 3D. It was supposed to be a 3D game at the same time, but it was 2D. It was 2D. It was a 2D game. You know, and then you can like charge up your attack, shoot attacks at people, energy blasts at people. Um, you could charge up, you could teleport. It was like I said, it was a good game. It wasn't a bad game whatsoever. Nothing was bad about that game. You know what I mean? I know. I mean, I remember the first time I ever played Dragon Ball Z Legends was with my friend. It was not my friend, but I was playing it with my cousin. My cousin had the game and he bought it. He bought it, imported, and then we just kept playing it. We had that. My cousin had that. My cousin had Marvel vs. Capcom 2. He had Dragon Ball Z Final Bout. I know if you guys know. I don't know if you guys know about Final Bout that came out there. It was just be honest with you, that was just like a three. It was a 2.5D perspective game. It was 3D models and 3D environment, but 2D perspective of and it was just a one-on-one side-to-side fighter with that game. And to be honest with you, I did not like Final Bout. At first, one point, I liked Final Bout more than I liked Dragon Ball Z Legends, but I don't like Final Bout sucked. Like I just didn't like that. Like they remade it now. They remade it and brought it in America now, but that game is just it's stupid. Like Final Bout, just look at the reviews for it or something like that. The game just didn't work out the way it should have worked out. In my perspective, it's from a 2D like from a 2D 2.5D perspective of a DBZ game. They could have made it more faster. It wasn't faster. There was times in the game where you can like put in some kind of combo or something with your opponent, but it was like harder to play. It was harder to play. They had different modes that made seem pretty weird, interesting at a certain degree, but characters the voice acting sucked. The voice acting in that game was terrible. They did not borrow any of the real voice actors for the game. They borrowed somebody else, and they just like they played their role. They did their part. They don't get me wrong. They did their part, but at the same time, it just wasn't that fun. Uh, but I didn't like it. Some people might like Dragon Ball Z Ultimate Battle 22 better than that game than Dragon Ball Z Legends when it came out. Like I think these three games, these are the main three that my cousin had at the time. Dragon Ball Z Legends, Final Bout, and Ultimate Battle 22. And a lot of people was telling me Ultimate Battle 22 is actually pretty fun, and I never played it. I never played that one. I always saw it, but I didn't see. I don't. Also, see, that's why I didn't respect those games when they came out. I didn't, as opposed to all those three Dragon Ball Z Legends, I respect the most. It was the most fun. I had the most fun out of that one. And Ultimate Battle 22 and Dragon Ball Z Final Bout reminds me of that damn what was that game, guys? That came out when it was a Dragon Ball Z game, a Game Boy Advance game. My brother had that for Christmas. It was terrible. It was terrible. So yeah, B Dub, B Dub Anime Master, bro, you're right. They were terrible. You shouldn't even play them. You can look that up. The top five worst Dragon Ball Z games, because that was one of them. That was one of them. But anyway, so basically when I got out of that, I know I'm ranting here. Was one of my favorites was Dragon Ball Z Legends. Uh, Now my next favorite Dragon Ball Z game is Super Dragon Ball Z. I don't. Most of you guys don't even know nothing about that. You guys haven't even heard that because at one point it was just released in America. They just released that game in here. Not in America. They just released it in Japan and Europe. Then they finally released the game in America. Uh, and to be honest with you, that game it was an arcade. This was an arcade Dragon Ball Z fighting game. This is an arcade. This is a Dragon Ball Z fighting game as opposed to the fighting game community. It related so much to the fighting game community, guys. I kid you not. it would have been it this like if they remake the Super Dragon Ball Z today, make it with better graphics than they did before. Make it with better graphics, better better graphics, better better maybe put it implement some more stuff with the gameplay. Introduce some more RPG elements in the game because they did have RPG elements where you can like buy moves in the game. You can buy certain items for your characters. Look it up, guys. I'm gonna put some links in the description for Super Dragon Ball Z, and I'm gonna put some really very detailed gameplay of this game of really good good players of the game, guys. I'm gonna do that. Why? Because I want to show you how good the game is. I want you to see the game at its highest level being played, not how you're gonna play it with your friends. Oh man, I punched him or whatever. I did this, man. Oh look at this. I put you in this little weak combo and it ain't nothing. You know, some of you just didn't know how to play fighters out there. But anyway, yeah, Super Dragon Ball Z that's my favorite Dragon Ball Z game of all time. And the thing about this Dragon Ball Z game, what made it so to the point where I liked it to the death, is basically that it was made by who's that game? The guy that did Street Fighter, Yoshiori. I don't know. I forgot his name. But it was made by the creators of Street Fighter. One of the creators of him, I forgot his name. Yoshinori. I forgot his name. That guy. He was basically making he worked on this game and a few other cats that did Darkstalkers and some of the Street Fighter series. That's what made the game a hit. It was because of that, and they actually put interesting concepts to it. See, this is why I want to do fighting games as in that. This is what that's those are the type of fighting games I want to do. I want to do that. So yeah, man, that was my favorite Dragon Ball Z game, Super Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Z Legends. I would say Tenkaichi, but two at that. But I'm not really a big fan of that series. I wanted to see something new. But yeah, that's my favorite. And my far as seeing my dream Dragon Ball Z game, I want my dream Dragon Ball Z game is gonna be it's another Super Dragon Ball Z game basically. But basically they do something, implement more better graphics, implement more to the gameplay, and maybe add in an action adventure storyline to it. Um, that would be my favorite Dragon Ball Z game at all time, is when they do it more like a Street Fighter thing, like it has that more of a Street Fighter fighting game element to it, like that relates more to the fighting game community, like Street Fighters, Darkstalkers, all those games, Blaze Blue, Tekken, games like that, games that can implement those fighting game mechanics to it, you know what I mean, and make the game more interesting, and then put in some really cool animation, maybe put in a really beat 'em up animation. You can do like basically, with some fighting games that you play, you can do certain things. You can do like a button combination things. You do one move that cancels out to another move or something like that. Basically, have like a magic series within the game, like they did with Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom, and give the characters like more moves, like the Hadouken motion, down forward, down forward punch or whatever. Those are his Hadouken. It was the same. Super Dragon Ball Z was the same way. Pretty much have all those type of mechanics within that a new Dragon Ball Z game, and then it would be just one hell of a game. That would be my dream game of a Dragon Ball Z game. But anyway, guys, I'm about to cut this video short. I'm sorry, I was ranting a little bit too much here. I got me a little bit of a cold. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and peace. Let me know your thoughts and opinions. What would be your favorite Dragon Ball Z game and why? And what is your dream Dragon Ball Z game? All right, peace.